Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a story for you that's going to twist your mind into a pretzel. Imagine hitting rock bottom, losing everything, all because of one person's calculated lies. Now, imagine getting a second chance, a do-over to rewrite your fate and serve up some ice-cold justice. This isn't just a story. It's a terrifying journey of betrayal, a desperate fight for survival, and a revenge plot so intricate, it'll leave you questioning everything. Buckle up, because this is the tale of three college roommates, a manipulative angel, and a wealthy heir whose world gets turned upside down, but not in the way you'd expect. So let's talk about my college days. I shared a dorm with two amazing friends, Chloe and Sarah. We were inseparable, navigating the chaotic world of university life together. And then there was Angelina. She was a unique character, to say the least. Angelina had this angelic face, delicate and seemingly innocent, always crying crocodile tears that could melt anyone's heart. She'd bat her eyelashes and claim to be so above material things, constantly emphasizing that she loved her rich boyfriend Ethan purely for him, not his family's immense wealth. Ethan, by the way, was practically royalty in our city, the heir to a massive corporation, incredibly wealthy, and honestly, a bit of a naive softie. Angelina was always draped all over him, but when it came to money, she wouldn't take a dime from him. Oh no, that would make her look like a gold digger, right? But for us, her broke college roommates, that was a different story. She freeloaded on everything, from our internet to our tampons. Yes, you heard that right, our tampons. She'd borrow money from us for clothes, makeup, even her tuition. Chloe, Sarah, and I were always scraping by on our family allowances, so lending Angelina thousands for her art school tuition, designer clothes, and fancy cosmetics was a huge strain. We kept telling her, "Angelina, you're about to graduate. Can you start paying us back in installments?" And how did she react? With floods of tears, of course. She accused us of ganging up on her, of being heartless. That night, she stormed off to a nightclub saying she'd work as a hostess to pay us back. What happened next was a nightmare we could never forget. She had a miscarriage, and Ethan, bless his misguided heart, believed she was wronged. He exacted a horrific revenge, dragging us to a different club, forcing us into a similar fate. His words still echo in my nightmares. "You ruined my woman, you killed my child. You should be grateful Angelina is so kind, or you'd be dead." And then I opened my eyes. Chloe and Sarah were there, staring at Angelina, who was once again weeping, a picture of delicate sorrow. "My dad's still sick, my mom's a janitor, and my brother keeps breaking up with girlfriends because of engagement dowries. I can't burden my parents with my tuition. Can you guys help me?" She sobbed, looking like a wilting rose. Chloe, Sarah, and I exchanged glances. A chilling realization washed over us. We were back to this exact moment. Angelina was spewing the same lines. "Ethan's rich, but I love him, not his money. His fiance calls me a gold digger. I can't let her look down on me. I absolutely won't borrow from Ethan. Can you lend me money for tuition? I'll get a part-time job right after and pay you back." But this time, our hearts weren't filled with pity. They were burning with an infernal rage. In our past life, her feigned disdain for money led her to take our money instead. We knew now that she had deliberately gone to work at that club, even knowing she was pregnant, just to use the miscarriage as a way to garner Ethan's sympathy and prove she was his true love. And we were just pawns, sacrificed at the altar of her twisted ambition. This time, things would be different. When Angelina asked for $5,000 for tuition, Chloe narrowed her eyes. "Tuition is only about $1,000. Why do you need $5,000? Angelina mumbled, "The rest is for clothes and makeup. You know Ethan has high standards." Sarah scoffed. "His high standards? What does that have to do with you? You can't even afford tuition, and you want to keep up with Ethan? Our families are barely making ends meet." I chimed in. "We don't have $5,000 for you. Go ask Ethan. Write him an IOU. Promise interest. That wouldn't be taking his money, would it? Angelina looked at us, bewildered, probably wondering why her usual emotional blackmail wasn't working. Her face twisted from innocent sorrow to seething anger. If you don't want to lend it, just say so. Why do you have to be so mean? We just laughed. Oh, the free maid for the richest playboy in town is talking. You know he has a fiancé, but you still shamelessly cling to him as a third wheel, letting him use you. You're dirt poor but want to dress up to impress him, all for pure love? Don't you think that's disgusting? Her face went white. She trembled, but couldn't utter a word. We had hit every single nail on the head. The next afternoon, our class voted for the need-based scholarship. In our past lives, we had campaigned for Angelina, even though she was far from the most deserving. She had then dramatically given up her spot to Liam, a hard-working orphan, earning praise and painting him as a charity case. This time, all three of us voted for Liam. Angelina wasn't even considered. That evening, Angelina started getting ready, applying heavy makeup and trying on different outfits. We knew she was heading to Ethan's. As soon as she left, Chloe, Sarah, and I exchanged mischievous grins. Tonight, our dorm advisor was doing a check, and an unregistered absence could be problematic. When our advisor, Miss Davies, came around, she immediately noticed Angelina's empty bed. Room 505. Someone's always missing. Is she at the library? The computer lab? Call her back now. We stood there, feigning shyness and fear. Miss Davies, she's not at the library or the computer lab. She's probably with her boyfriend. I stammered, cutting off Chloe, who was about to blurt out Angelina's name. Miss Davies' eyebrows furrowed. Her boyfriend? Sarah, always the calmest, added, she was asking us for money for tuition today, but we don't have any. She probably went to Ethan to borrow it. His family is super wealthy, after all. Chloe, with a dramatic sigh, chimed in. It's already past 11 p.m. The dorm gates are closed. I hope she comes back, but this isn't the first time she's been out late all dolled up like that. Who knows? Maybe she's even pregnant by now. Miss Davies' eyes widened. Sarah and I clapped our mouths over exaggerated shock. I immediately admonished Chloe. Don't say such things. If it were true, she'd have to drop out and marry him, right? Ethan adores her. Then Sarah leaned in, as if sharing the secret. Actually, it's hard to say. I think she hasn't had her period for 2 or 3 months, and she's been throwing up in the bathroom sometimes. It sounds a lot like morning sickness. I feigned disbelief. You even know about her period? Sarah shrugged. I didn't want to, but she never buys her own sanitary pads. She always borrows mine. She hasn't asked for any for 2 months, so I just noticed. It's actually pretty convenient, since she never returns them anyway. We just casually gossiped, spilling every scandalous detail to Miss Davies. Her face turned ashen. The next morning, as Angelina was dropped off by a luxury car, Miss Davies was waiting. She immediately dragged Angelina to the infirmary. News of Angelina's pregnancy spread like wildfire through the school. Miss Davies called her parents, suggesting a temporary leave of absence, but Angelina's parents were only interested in how much compensation they could get, and if she could marry the father for a hefty dowry. They had no education, no scruples, and knew the school couldn't expel her for private matters. They essentially told the school to deal with it, unless they got paid. Miss Davies was furious. She publicly shamed Angelina over the loudspeaker, accusing her of promiscuity and being a homewrecker. In the microcosm of our university, these words were a death sentence. Angelina cried constantly in the dorm. We ignored her. When the class president came to collect tuition, Angelina snapped. It's just tuition, right? I'll go work as a hostess. I'll wait tables. I'll earn enough for you all. Don't you dare dream I'll ask Ethan for money. I'd rather die than take a single penny from him. In our past life, we'd worried about her safety and called Ethan. This time, no one lifted a finger. Let's see how she fares on her own in that den of depravity. The next morning, the news spread like wildfire through the school. Angelina had a miscarriage. That was no surprise. But then came the shocking part. Angelina had been brutally attacked, her limbs severed, her throat burned with acid, leaving permanent damage. The class president, horrified, recounted what happened. I told her to pay tuition, and she said she'd go work as a hostess at a club. We thought she was just talking.
Who knew she'd actually go? She was pregnant and still playing drinking games. She got drunk and a lot of people took advantage of her. When she woke up, she realized she'd been drugged and called Ethan for help. But before she could get through, the thugs heard Ethan's name and grabbed her. They offered her $1,000,000 to settle, but Angelina refused. She wanted to sue them. They knew Ethan's connections were powerful, and she kept screaming his name, so they just went all out. They beat her until she was paralyzed. To avoid a murder charge, they severed her limbs and poured acid down her throat. She can't write, she can't speak. She wants to sue, but it's impossible. Ethan is at the hospital, the class president continued. He said he'll find the culprits. He even asked me to bring you guys there. My blood ran cold. Ethan, the naive playboy, couldn't have been that stupid. In our past life, he was convinced we were responsible for Angelina's miscarriage. Now he was calling us to the hospital? This couldn't be good. Chloe narrowed her eyes. That bastard, he's not going to try and blame us again, is he? Sarah nodded grimly. Probably. What do we do? I squeezed their hands. Don't worry, Angelina can't speak or write. Everything depends on our performance. We went to Miss Davies first, then headed to the hospital. The class president had brought fruit and flowers. We arrived empty-handed. Angelina lay in the bed, covered in bandages, only her eyes visible. They were filled with intense hatred when she saw us. Ethan sat beside her, his eyes red and full of grief.
Did you know Angelina went to the nightclub last night? Ethan asked, his voice strained. The class president sighed, shaking his head. We all sighed in unison. We thought Angelina was at your place, Ethan. She's pregnant, and we figured you two were getting serious. The school was pushing for tuition, but there's a student loan program. We don't understand why she didn't apply for it and went to work at a club instead. What a pity, Chloe lamented, shaking her head. Ethan took a deep, pained breath. It's because the school's loan program is funded by the Rivera Corporation, my family's company. She didn't want to use my money. She's always been like that, pushing herself to the brink rather than accepting my kindness. She wanted to prove she loved me, not my money. How could she be so naive and good-hearted? Oh, the delusion of a rich heir, Sarah calmly stated. So that's why she was so desperate to earn her tuition. She didn't want to owe you, Mr. Rivera, since the school is funded by your corporation? Ethan closed his eyes, tears streaming down his face. A true actor, wasted. Angelina, too, shed tears. Whether from self-pity or pride in her noble character, we couldn't tell. So, Mr. Rivera, have you already paid Angelina's hospital fees? She probably wouldn't want to accept them either. Mr. Rivera, look, Angelina is crying. She must be angry that you spent money on her. Angelina's eyes widened. She stared at us, unblinking, tears still flowing. We pressed on. Mr. Rivera, I think you should stop paying Angelina's hospital fees. Otherwise, she'll hate you forever. You're the last person she'd ever want to owe. Angelina's head shook wildly, trying to deny it. We seized the opportunity. See, Mr. Rivera? Angelina is shaking her head. That means no, she doesn't need your hospital money. Angelina, do you want to go home? Angelina, unable to speak, kept shaking her head like a bobblehead. We jumped in. Mr. Rivera, she's shaking her head again. She really doesn't want to stay in the hospital. She wants to go home. Even though her dad is bedridden, her mom's a janitor, and her brother's fighting with his girlfriend over money, Angelina has always been a good girl. She never looked down on her family, always illuminating their lives with her noble character. Even in her direst circumstances, she never asked you for money. She's not greedy at all. Mr. Rivera, I don't think you should make things harder for her. Angelina, realizing what we were doing, nodded furiously, trying to contradict us. We pointed to her, frantic nodding. See, Mr. Rivera, Angelina agrees with everything we're saying. Ethan's face was a mask of suffering. Does this mean I have to lose everything to earn your kindness, Angelina? If I become penniless, will you finally accept my help? Angelina was speechless, her eyes wide, with a horrifying realization. We sighed dramatically. We've told Angelina before not to refuse your kindness, not to refuse your money. But she always says your money isn't yours. It's the Rivera Corporation's. She says if you earn it yourself, she'll accept it. Ethan's eyes brimmed with tears. Then I'll give up my inheritance.
I'll work with my own hands, earn my own money, and pay for your hospital bills, Angelina. I believe you're not greedy. I truly believe it. I love you, Angelina." Angelina was utterly defeated. She just stared, motionless. The class president looked on, completely bewildered. In the end, with our relentless manipulation, Ethan and Angelina embraced in a tearful reunion. Ethan declared he didn't care about the miscarriage or what happened to her. He was determined to live a normal life with Angelina. They were going to live happily ever after, a humble cottage and 2 loving hearts. Chloe, Sarah, and I, along with the class president, offered our sincere blessings. Only Angelina, unable to speak or move, contorted in pain from Ethan's fierce hug. As we left Angelina's room, we saw Ethan's younger brother, Evan Rivera, and many other Rivera family members waiting outside. Their expressions were a mixture of disgust and exasperation. Ethan's earlier display of love had undoubtedly sealed his fate in their eyes. Such a person couldn't possibly manage the Rivera Corporation. Evan, who looked eerily similar to Ethan but exuded a far more dangerous aura, spoke in a hoarse voice. "Since my brother is so set on not taking over the family business, I don't think our parents should force him." Mr. and Mrs. Rivera sighed. "Then the Rivera Corporation is yours from now on. Let your brother and that girl who despises money live happily ever after." They walked away. Evan then looked directly at us. It was us who had contacted Miss Davies, asking her to connect us with Evan so he could witness this brilliant performance. Evan smirked. "You 3 have done me a great service. I should repay you." We quickly waved our hands. No need. We just wanted to avoid any more involvement with Angelina. Our goal has been achieved. It's a win-win." We were no longer in danger, and Evan had secured his inheritance. We were from 2 different worlds, and it was best to keep our distance. But Evan continued, "Miss Davies sent me your graduation designs. They're very innovative. Would you like to try working at the Rivera Corporation?"
We were surprised. Evan added, "Don't worry. I'm different from my brother. I would never disregard talent for any woman. Don't refuse just yet. Talk to Miss Davies first, then give me your answer." Evan left. Soon after, Miss Davies called us back to school to discuss our graduation project. She told us the Rivera Corporation was interested in our design, wanting to use it as their main development direction for the next quarter. We'd each get $1 million in the first year, with room for negotiation later. We would be in charge of the project, with the corporation only providing investment. All decisions would be ours. Miss Davies vouched for Evan, saying he was a former student she trusted, and even if the project failed, we wouldn't incur any debt. With all these assurances, and knowing from our past lives that this project was destined for massive success, we signed the cooperation agreement with Evan. After graduation, we established a small company under the Rivera Corporation. We worked tirelessly, the project expanded rapidly, and our company grew to over 50 employees within a year. We even moved our offices closer to the main Rivera Corporation headquarters. We focused all our energy on this project, completing it a year ahead of schedule, launching it fully into the market. The night before our company went public, we sat at a street-side barbecue stand, eating grilled meat, drinking beer, and reminiscing. "Waiter, another case of beer and more skewers." The waiter brought the beer, then pulled out his notepad. "Anything else?" I froze. That voice. I looked up. It was Ethan. He had gained a lot of weight. His clothes were disheveled, and he hadn't shaved or cut his hair. He looked utterly worn out. Chloe and Sarah also noticed him, equally shocked. "What's wrong? Do you want to order more?" Ethan asked, his eyes vacant. Chloe was the first to react. 30 chicken feet, 30 chicken cartilages. That'll do for now. We'll order more if we need it." Ethan wrote down the order and went to the kitchen. When the owner brought our food, we couldn't resist asking, "Ma'am, what's that waiter's name? He looks so much like an old friend of ours." The owner smiled kindly. "Oh, that's Ethan Rivera. He used to be from a rich family, but he gave up his fortune for a girlfriend and was disowned. He tried to open a small restaurant, but he couldn't cook, so it closed in 2 months. Then he worked construction, but couldn't handle the hard labor. After that, he worked as a bartender, where the pay was good, but rich older women would often harass him. He quit that too, because he didn't want his girlfriend to be jealous." Chloe asked, "What kind of girlfriend does he have?" The owner glanced at Ethan, then lowered her voice. "She's paralyzed,
can't speak and her face is disfigured. But he truly loves her. He even proposed. Her parents, seeing someone willing to marry their daughter, demanded $1 million as a dowry. He honestly gave them all of it. I gasped. $1 million? Where did he get that? The owner clicked her tongue. Exactly. He borrowed it all from loan sharks. $1 million, all given to the girl's family for her brother's wedding. Now his monthly salary barely covers the interest. Their life is so tough they have nowhere to live. We took pity on them and set up a small tent nearby. It's cold in winter, hot in summer, leaky and drafty, but it's all we can do. A moment later, we saw Ethan carry a bowl of fried rice into the crude tent next to the restaurant. It seemed he and Angelina were living there. After paying our bill, curiosity got the better of us. We secretly peeked inside the tent. We had admired Ethan's true love, but what we saw next made us question everything. Ethan was beating Angelina with the leather whip. She was naked, lying on the filthy floor, reeking of feces and urine. Each lash of the whip made her body convulse. It was agonizing to watch, but Angelina's vocal cords had long been burned by acid, unable to utter a sound. All we heard was the whistle of the whip and Ethan's venomous words. "Are you happy with this life, huh? I'm earning money with my own hands now, aren't I? Why are you so worthless? You wouldn't use my parents' money. You insisted I cut ties with my family, insisted I be like you and treat money like dirt. I think you're the trash. You belong with this filth. Eating fried rice? You still have the face to eat fried rice? You're a curse. When I worked at the bar, you kept wanting to die, all day, just shaking your head or nodding. To marry you, I agreed to $1 million dowry, $1 million from loan sharks. My salary is only $5,000 a month, and that only covers the interest. I can't even pay off the principal. It's all because you treat money like dirt. It's all your fault. You ruined my life. Now the Rivera Corporation is gone and no rich old woman even looks at me. I'll be paying off this loan for the rest of my life. Ha! Now my only joy is beating and cursing you every day. For my true love, you've become the person I hate the most. Ha! Angelina lay face down on the floor, unable to cry out or scream, just silently shedding tears. We wondered if she regretted her words from that day. I love him, not his money.
Angelina's life had truly become a living hell, yet one thing still bothered me. That night, the people who poured acid on Angelina, were they really just random thugs? Chloe dedicated herself to her work, no longer caring about trivial matters. Sarah married and started a family, enjoying a comfortable life with her company dividends. As for me, I still loved research and design. While Chloe was negotiating deals and Sarah was with her family, I continued my original work, sketching, writing, and finding peace in the world. Many years later, living alone on a small island in the South, I saw a news report. The thugs who hurt Angelina had been arrested. They confessed to many crimes, including brutally disfiguring Angelina. When asked why, they said, "Someone paid us to cripple her, so we did it. We don't know who, just that it was a man." A man? My first thought was Evan. After all, family feuds are often dark and cunning, but I couldn't be sure. Later, at a company celebration, the three of us reunited. All the senior executives were there. Evan was still the center of attention, surrounded by people. Suddenly, a disheveled man in a loose t-shirt pushed a disfigured, disabled woman into the middle of the party. It was Ethan and Angelina. What were they doing here? As we stared in shock, Ethan threw Angelina to the ground and repeatedly kicked her. Each kick made her body convulse. We instinctively recoiled into the crowd, not wanting to be involved. Then Ethan pulled out a gun and shouted Evan's name. "Evan Rivera, was it you who set Angelina up to approach me? Did you teach her to fake despising money to attract my attention? Evan, explain yourself. You made me fall in love, made me stupidly give up my inheritance. You're so cruel. I'm your brother. You intentionally made me take out those high-interest loans, intentionally let Angelina's parents know we were getting married, intentionally bribed the restaurant owner so I'd live in that shed.
Come out here. I'm going to kill you. You ruined my entire life." Ethan's screams turned the party into chaos. Soon after, security guards subdued him. He was taken to the police station for bringing a weapon and assault and sentenced to life in prison. Angelina was taken to a welfare institution. A few days later, she passed away. After that incident, I realized Evan, despite his polite and principled demeanor, was incredibly cunning and ruthless. When I submitted my resignation, he just smirked. "Made enough money already and you want to retire so young?" I calmly replied, "Yes, I've earned quite a bit. I want to live the rest of my life freely." Evan's eyes deepened. He said, "I know what you're worried about. Anyone who does business with me should be cautious, but in the business world, strategy is normal. I only did what I did to protect myself." I nodded my agreement and reiterated that my decision to resign was purely for freedom, not because of him. Before I left, Evan asked a cryptic question. "Do you believe in rebirth?" I paused. He continued, "Ever since you called me that day, I've considered you special, but maybe I was just overthinking. Perhaps you never truly paid attention to me, so you wouldn't understand why I became this way." At the time, I didn't understand the deeper meaning of his words. It wasn't until much later, during a sleepless night, that I remembered our past life. After Ethan inherited everything because of Angelina's stolen project, Evan had been disowned by the family and tragically died in a street brawl. In that moment, I understood. Evan, too, had been reborn, and compared to us, his methods were far more ruthless, leaving no room for his opponents to recover. I had thought Ethan's downfall was due to our collective efforts, but it turned out there was a mastermind far more cunning than we could have ever imagined. It was a blessing that fate had given us a second chance. I swore I would cherish the present and embrace the freedom I deserved.